What's this you're all concerned about with your assignment? You want to know what strict liability offences are because you keep seeing them in the legislation where they say something's a strict liability offence. Do you have to put that in your answer, Angel Learning? No, not necessarily. Look, I think we better clear this up so that everyone has an understanding of what a strict liability offence is. A strict liability offence is an offence which generally says if you commit the particular act, then one's guilty unless you're able to establish a defence of a mistake of fact, that you were mistaken about a set of facts, and then you can use that as a defence to avoid liability. And yes, Robo-Lawyer, there are some offences where you can't use that defence, generally speaking, and they're called absolute liability offences. Like, for example, if you park your car in the wrong spot, and it's irrespective of what defence you use, you might have thought it was right to park there, you might have thought that you had enough time, but those, even if you're mistaken, you're still liable for the parking infringement. So that's probably the simplest explanation about strict liability offences. They are discussed in section 6.1 of the Commonwealth Criminal Code, and in 6.2 they talk about absolute liability offences. But for our purposes, when we see that in the legislation, we don't have to worry too much about it. It just tells us what sort of offences might be available for particular aspects of that offence. Right? So it's nothing magic or secret. It's just that there's a limit in the types of offences which are available. And if you go back to the previous section in the Criminal Code, you see there's a whole long list of fault elements, which sometimes in other offences the prosecution has to establish one of those fault elements. Well, in strict liability offences, the prosecution doesn't have to establish those fault elements. It's just taken as given. It says this is, if you do that, you don't need to have a fault element. The only defence available is this mistake of fact. So it's just a technical, for our purposes, it's just a technical matter. So does that help with the assignment? The other thing to remember with the assignment is be very precise. If you found a section, like if you find a section and you say, oh, it's section 54, and the actual section where the offence is being committed is section 54 subsection 3, and you don't put that in, well, you could lose marks there because you're not specifying exactly where it is. Now, hopefully that will help us all. Won't you understand, Pencil Dog? What's that? You've got to go back and look at some aspects of your assignment now. Right, so, Robo-Lawyer, you're trying to be, Robo-Lawyer's asking if he makes mistakes in his assignment, is that a strict liability offence? Well, it's probably not an offence, but we like that because I'm not interested in whether you made the mistake deliberately or not, or recklessly, or carelessly, or intentionally, or unintentionally. So I guess to that extent it's true. But and what about the mistakes of facts? I don't think so. You've got to get the facts right. Yeah. It's not going to act as a defence at all. Well, we'll leave it there, I think. Leave it there for the moment. Now remember, cite the reference sections in the legislation as accurately and as precisely as you can. Oh, you all feel a lot better. Well, that's good. I'll have to go and switch it off now. So you say goodbye to everyone. We'll see what we can do. Okay, there's the noodle thing.